Hi there, everyone. This is Ken with MinnoTank, and we are turning on our live stream just a few minutes early to help people find the right way to get to the MinnoTank live stream show. We have all of our startups here, and we'll be ready to start this pitch competition in just about 5 minutes. If you have any questions, please just ask them now on the MinnoTank chat, on the YouTube chat. If you have any questions, just ask them now on the MinnoTank chat, on the YouTube chat. Hey, startups who are on the call with us, I can hear my voice coming back through your computers. So either mute your computer or put some headphones on so we can't hear the voice reverb, please. Hey, startups who are on the call with us, I can hear my voice coming back through your computers. So either mute your computer or put some headphones on so we can't hear the voice reverb, please. Again, this is Ken with MinnoTank, and we are live. We're about to go start our show in just about 5 minutes. So if you guys have any questions of what the show is like today or anything, feel free to enter them on the live chat right now. Hey there, Byte team, Jordan, Ryan, everybody on the call with us. I can hear myself coming back through your computers, so I need headphones on because it's gonna slow our show down. So go ahead and check out your computers and try to resolve that for us, please. So we need headphones in, or we need you to mute your own computers because when it's coming back over the audio, it's gonna cause us problems during our live show. We already have a few people trickling in to tune on the show. Hey guys, this is Ken with MinnoTank, and we're going to start our live show in just about 5 minutes. So tune in. Hey guys. Just going to repeat for the people who just showed up. So we have about 5 minutes until, hey guys, they can probably see me. So we have about 5 minutes until the show starts. So just give us just a few minutes to let some of the people trickle in. We do start promptly at 2. And I have a whole lot of updates for the MinnoTank audience. So just give us a few minutes while we have people filter in. What we'd love you to do is introduce yourself on the YouTube chat, especially if you're brand new. We'd love to hear where you're from, where you're at. Just let us know you're out there watching and tuning in. Thanks, guys. So just one more little bit. We're just about 5 minutes away from the show starting. So we've already got some viewers filtering in. We do like to start the show relatively on time. So we'll start with my updates from MinnoTank, myself, and Ken, and then we'll get further into the show. If I can ask the live viewing audience, if you guys want to, please feel free to share the MinnoTank YouTube channel right now so we can invite your other friends and connections, tech enthusiasts, investors, startup founders, anyone who's going to have interest in hearing from our live investors as well as our early stage tech startups pitching today. Again, just one more time, because I know we're all still filtering in. This is Ken with MinnoTank, and we are waiting just a few minutes to start our live stream show. just to let some of the people filter in. Some people were saying they had difficulties finding where was the live stream show and how do we actually access MinnoTank. So as we're starting to let our audience trickle in, it just hit 2 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my speech in just about 1 or 2 minutes, but we'll let people start filling in slowly. If you guys have any questions, we'd actually love to hear from where you're at. So for example, we'd love to know where you're tuning in from. We heard there was, we actually had a Houston watch party that's going on, but sadly, Houston didn't know how to deal with snow. So the Houston watch party, we're actually being hosted by Brittany from Fairmore, who's previously pitched on our platform. And sadly, because Houston had such snow and such freezing ice that they weren't allowed to leave their houses and their pipes froze over. So they won't be hosting that party. So we'd love to hear where you're from. We see a shout out from Chicago Innovation. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. And we'll give it just 1 or 2 more minutes before we start the show. Feel free, guys. So one of the ways that one of the reasons why MinnoTank is so interesting is because we are an interactive and live show. So we're going to be having 3 companies pitching today. So what we would love to see you do is enter any of your questions on the actual YouTube itself. So whenever you want to say, hey, what's going on? I'd like to ask some questions about the total addressable market for this company. I'd like to ask about, why the investor cited that way. Or you can even ask a question to Ryan Cole from V Capital, who will be on the call with us. So feel free to interact and be participatory and communicate with the folks that are on the show. That's the reason why we do live. It's a lot of work and it's very scary and anything can happen. But the great stuff is that it's completely interactive. So you sitting there in the audience are able to interact with us on the show. So we love that. So please make sure you do participate and tune in. Give it just 2 more minutes and then we'll go ahead and get started. This is Ken, guys. I'm getting a few messages that people are having trouble finding where the live stream is. So I am just going to update a few things, make sure everyone knows MinnoTank is going live right now. Again, this is Ken with MinnoTank. We are live. And if you're having trouble and anyone's asking you, how do I get to this live stream pitch? They can just go to our MinnoTank YouTube channel to actually arrive at the show. And you'll be able to tune in there and start being able to access and ask questions. Seems like we've got somebody from Minneapolis. Welcome to the show. Okay, guys. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started as we let some people start filtering in still. I'm going to start with my speech. So I have a lot of updates for what happens on MinnoTank as since the new year. And then we'll go ahead and get into our very first pitch. Hey there, investors, tech enthusiasts, and startup founders. Welcome to our 3rd episode of MinnoTank's live stream pitch. Before we get started with our show, we have a few updates, some exciting news, and some special guest speakers, and even the opportunity for you, the live crowd, to win some awesome gifts complimentary of MinnoTank. So happy New Year. I hope that you guys had a good of a holiday season as I did and are as excited as I am to get back to work. MinnoTank has had a number of changes this year. So let me first talk about a few of the changes right now. Our biggest and most exciting change is that we have successfully brought on new sponsorship and no longer have to charge startups to pitch on our MinnoTank network. That's right. Now that our early stage tech startup founders can pitch on MinnoTank 100% for free, remotely, without even leaving their office. Other than that, exciting update from MinnoTank, we have also defined 2 goals that we're going to follow for the new year. To augment MinnoTank's original mission of being a platform to connect early-stage tech startups and investors through a live stream pitch, we have drilled down to 2 core missions. You may have seen these missions if you've watched the What is MinnoTank video on our YouTube channel. These 2 missions are, 1, decentralize the pitch. We removed our fee to pitch and are gearing up to become a utility for startups from across the US to pitch investors through the internet with no physical limitations nor financial limitations. Number 2 is diversify venture capital. As you may already know, less than 9% of all venture capital goes to minority founders. MinnoTank defines minority founders as female founders, minority founders, whether it be race-wise or religion, and LGBT plus founders. And as a member of the LGBT community myself, I do not believe that this disparity of venture capital is done on purpose nor with malice, but I believe that for diverse founders, it's simply a lack of resources and solutions to connect investors to startups at scale. Decentralization of the pitch and diversification of venture capital are core to driving our passions behind why we created MinnoTank. So thank you for listening to my soapbox speech, and I hope that you take some time after watching MinnoTank's live stream pitch to watch some of our founder interviews we've recently conducted to learn more about the passions and purpose that drives our founders. Now, as I previously mentioned, MinnoTank would not be possible without the support of sponsors to help make all of this possible. So I want to highlight some of those sponsors now. So our first sponsor is Bradford Allen. Bradford Allen is a commercial real estate firm that specializes in finding office space and negotiating tenant-oriented leases for startups and large companies. The best part is their service is performed at no cost to clients because all the fees are paid to Bradford Allen by the landlord after the lease is signed. Please go ahead and visit minnotank.com/sponsor, and you can learn more about Bradford Allen. Thanks, guys, for sponsoring us. Next, I want to thank DoubleTake Promotional Marketing, our official swag sponsor of MinnoTank. DoubleTake can help with all your promotional products and branded merchandise needs. The owner, Matt Deutschman, is fourth generation in his family in the promotional marketing industry and understands the value of your company's time. Therefore, when working with DoubleTake Promotional Marketing, you receive a white glove approach to your continual need for promotional marketing materials to maximize the impact of your brand. Thank you, DoubleTake, for your continued support of MinnoTank. Our final sponsor for today is Caxi. Caxi is the technology catalyst sponsor of MinnoTank. Caxi helps startups by planning and building cloud platforms and apps, as well as creating a digital strategy to accelerate their vision. Caxi is your partner in creating the most direct path to reach your customers through technology. Thank you to all of our sponsors who help make MinnoTank possible every episode. Now, for a few updates. One of the newest aspects to the MinnoTank show is our voting system. If you are subscribed to MinnoTank's email, you may have seen that we had a whopping 232 responses to our question, who should pitch first this month? Therefore, in just a few minutes, I'm going to bring on Brian Fox of Trusted Herd, who'll be pitching first on MinnoTank. Golf claps all around for Brian Fox for organizing his network to come out and vote for him. But today, as a special treat, we are lucky enough to have the founder of Koval Distillery, as well as the founder of T-Squares as our beverage and snack sponsors. Now, you may be asking yourself, why is this so awesome that we have beverage sponsors and snack sponsors for MinnoTank? Well, because you, my friends, our audience of founders, investors, and tech enthusiasts, have the opportunity to win a gift pack presented by MinnoTank on today's show. Let me explain. Today on MinnoTank, we will award the top pitch crowd choice. Two things to win today are going to be one, a bottle of Koval's whiskey, and two, we have T-Squares snack pack, these awesome, delicious snacks. We have their acai blueberry, their vanilla chai, and my personal favorite, the citrus green tea matcha. We are so thrilled to have the founders of both Koval and T-Squares on the show with us today, and you'll get to hear a little bit more about their company between our pitches. So, live audience, here's our ask. We want you to vote for MinnoTank's top crowd choice, and you will have the chance to win a bottle of Koval and a snack pack with complimentary from MinnoTank. But here are the rules if you would like to win along with these startups. Number one, you must be subscribed to MinnoTank's YouTube channel. Number two, you must vote live for MinnoTank's top pitch crowd choice. We will award both the startup winner as well as the live audience member at the end of today's show. So please don't forget to vote. All right, one last piece of business before we start. I know I'm rambling on, guys, but one last piece. So our last piece of business before the show starts, MinnoTank is excited to be working with the first financial technology incubator in Chicago. Its name, funny enough, is FinTank. So I know that we are MinnoTank, but they are FinTank, financial technology companies. FinTank is hosting the largest cryptocurrency conference with over 600 attendees and 40 speakers planned in the entire Midwest, and it's called CryptoCurrency, CryptoCon on February 15th here in Chicago. You can find out more information at minnotank.com/CryptoCon. Not only is this a great way to learn from your industry professionals about what's actually happening with cryptocurrency, as you guys, I don't know if you guys are like me, where you check the news constantly, you say, okay, what is with Bitcoin today and what's all these other currencies? But it's a great way to also meet the MinnoTank team. We'll be there live working with FinTank. Now, without any further ado, I would like to bring on our guest investor, Ryan Cole from V Capital. And I'm going to hear a few words about him before we get the show started. So, Ryan, would you mind introducing V Capital and giving us 2 or 3 sentences about what you guys do?
Sure, Ken. Thanks for having me. Yeah, V Capital, we're a Chicago-based venture capital firm founded by Len Batterson and Jim Vaughn. We're Series A focused, but we'll consider seed stage and later stage companies. We're sector agnostic with a preference for Midwest-based companies. Our founder, Len's been doing it for 35 years with a 28% gross IRR, 4 unicorns to his name, starting with American Online and most recently CleverSafe, which was acquired by IBM for $1.3 billion back in December of 2015. So look forward to hearing the 3 companies and adding any insight and questions I come up with.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much. I'm switching the video back to Ken now. So our next company that we're going to bring on is Brian Fox. But before we start the show, I want to point the audience to YouTube, where our marketing intern, Dan Loris, is working very hard to get our interviews edited. So we actually did some interviews with our startups this time to learn a little bit more about the passion and what drives them. But by next week, we will have the full interview with Ryan Cole from V Capital, as well as some of the other startups here today. And I'm excited for you guys to see what's behind the screen. You know, starting an early stage tech startup is extremely difficult. There's a lot of challenges. So you kind of dug deeper into what that looks like. Before I bring out Brian Fox, I'd like to underline the success that Brian Fox has had before we bring him onto the call. So just this past week, Brian Fox has celebrated a birthday, has surpassed the 1-year mark from founding Trusted Herd, and there have been more than 4,000 reviews left on Brian Fox's platform, Trusted Herd. But most importantly of all, on today's show, Brian Fox has won the opportunity to pitch first. Brian was able to activate his network and get a whopping 75% of the vote of 232 votes for him and Trusted Herd to pitch our investors first today. The crowd has chosen, and it is my honor to welcome Brian Fox to the program. So, Brian, take it away.
Hey, Ken, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly fine. Go ahead.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for having me on MinnoTank. So as Ken just said, my name is Brian Fox. I'm the CEO and founder of Trusted Herd. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. Can everybody see that?
We're all good. Go ahead, Brian.
Excellent. All right. So my startup is Trusted Herd. What is Trusted Herd? It's a universal staffing database for the experiential marketing industry. So you might be asking, what is that? Experiential marketing is when you're a brand and you have a product or service and you want to go out into the public and promote that. So when you think of the Bud Light girls or Miller Lite team out at bars, or the Red Bull vehicles driving around, that is all experiential marketing. And the people that work those events are brand ambassadors or promotional workers. So what Trusted Herd is it's 50% of it is job posting, hiring, and event management. And then the other 50% acts like Glassdoor, where workers and companies can submit reviews. So for me, what led to Trusted Herd, this is where my startup, I feel, and my position is a little bit unique, certainly in the startup tech world, is that I've actually been in this industry for 13 years. I've lived every single user of my company's cycle. 6 years, I worked at a national agency here in Chicago, overseeing events, including the Indianapolis 500 for them. And then 4.5 years ago, I started my own event agency, and those brands that you see on the right-hand side there, those are who we've been able to work with. But the one frustration that I've always had, and all of my colleagues and everybody in this industry, is staffing. And that's really, staffing these events are the most important, because these are the workers who are your front of the line. They're your first contact between your consumer and what that brand feels and represents. So kind of the cycle of Trusted Herd is, at the end of an event, a company gets to rate a worker, but in an industry first, that worker also gets to rate the company. So we drive mutual accountability. And what we do with all of those ratings is we turn it into an aggregate. And so if you have an event anywhere throughout the US, create the job post on Trusted Herd, and within 5 minutes, you can search within a whatever mile radius from that exact event address, and up comes a ranked list of talent, number 1 through the bottom. Click through and see profiles and pictures and resumes and past experience and past reviews. And at that point, Ken is the number 2 available worker. He's 2.4 miles from here. And with a simple click of one button, you can gauge his interest on if he'd like to work for your event. But at that point, you have top 10 talent in about 10 minutes. So that's the really exciting part about Trusted Herd. And then the whole cycle starts back over. So some of the most impressive stats, there's 2 on this page that I really like from the past month, is that in December, we had a 2-week stretch where 5 companies posted 31 jobs. In that 2-week stretch, because of those jobs, we had 600 plus new workers that were on the database. And what's great about those workers is now the next company that comes along to New York or Dallas or Chicago or San Jose, wherever that event was, they have access to those workers. And these are core promotional workers, as well as anybody that they pull into the system. So every day it just goes stronger and stronger. And as Ken alluded to during the intro, the half of our platform, which is Glassdoor based, is workers can actually add any promotional job they've had in the last year and still rate that company and still ask to get rated. So we had a record month in November, and then December absolutely smashed that record where we lifted reviews by 70%. So we're really buzzing along. It's past 4,200 now, and really that number grows every single day. And then within the past couple days, we were selected to exhibit at Collision down in New Orleans on the beta track. So we'll be going down there in just a few months. So this is a real quick snapshot of what the platform looks like. So when a worker would log in, this would be the homepage that they would see. Similar to Glassdoor, when workers search any single company in the promotional marketing industry, this is the page that they would pull up. And so all the company's information is there, the top review, and then they can read honest feedback from other workers in there. And then this is one that I'm really proud of, and what Trusted Herd is kind of all about. And so this is the pay scale feature, and the pay scale is on every single marketing industry, whether they're staffing or a marketing or a general company, on their page. And it shows the top 12 positions in our industry. The next column is the industry average for those positions. And then that third column is what that company pays on average. So again, it's all about transparency. Looking at kind of the final points before we kick it off here with Ryan and Ken and additional questions, is really what Trusted Herd is all about, is accountability and transparency. And that's key in this industry. It's key for companies that do staffing in the event marketing space that shouldn't, because it shouldn't take a company 2 to 3 months to pay a worker. And same goes for workers out there. If they're top of class in an event, when I go back to Cleveland, I know that I can reach out to Ryan. But what about the 3,000 or 2,000 other companies or brands that have activations where then Ryan starts back at square one? So it really incentivizes him to give 100% at each one of these events. And event marketing work is fun and it's easy, and it's showing up on time and smiling and relaying brand messaging. And there's really not much to it other than being the face for that brand or product. So without further ado, that is the end of my pitch. And then on this last slide here, we are raising $200,000 in safe agreements, and a lot of people put on events. And so if it's not you, or you have a friend or know somebody in your professional network that puts on events and needs talent, Trusted Herd is an incredible source for them. And feel free to share my information with them, and look forward to connecting. Thanks.
All right, Brian, thank you very much for giving us that fantastic pitch. So before we invite Ryan Cole back onto the call to discuss this investment opportunity, I want to remind all of our audience, whether it be our tech enthusiasts, our investors, or our startup founders, that you can go onto MinnoTank.com/vote and vote for our top pitch for today. So if you love Brian's pitch, make sure you jot down some notes and you make sure you vote. So it's MinnoTank.com/vote. So Ryan, I'd like to invite you to come back on and start our conversation around the investment opportunity.
Excellent. Brian, great presentation, great company. I understand the need for it. It seems fairly simple to use, something that I'd like to look at in the future for our own company. A couple of questions I have. One is the competition. Who else is out there? Why are you better and different than the others?
Sure, that's a great question, Ryan. There is what's really unique about Trusted Herd is when you look at, what makes up our whole 100% of our pie is 50% of it is this universal database, right? And Ryan, tomorrow you could start plotting a universal database company. But really what makes Trusted Herd special and unique is that other half of it that's like Glassdoor. And so where at the end of this month, we'll have probably over 5,000 reviews now added by workers. First to market, it's a land grab, and it would be extremely tough for another competitor to come along and ask workers to add the same information that they've already added into our site. And so there's a great company here in Chicago that's a staffing solution called ShiftGig that I'm sure a lot of angel investors or VCs have heard of, and they've raised I think it's 59 million at this point over their past few years. And they're a great product and a great service, but where Trusted Herd is different in a solution is it is do it yourself, right? And so there are people who just want to turn the keys over to a company and say, here's what we need. But there are also a lot of companies out there who want to watch that bottom line and that staffing line item. So the ability for them to just go on Trusted Herd, pay $10 to post a job, and then it's $1 per hour per worker. So if you hire a worker for a trade show for 10 hours at McCormick Place or the Jacob Javits Center in New York, it's going to cost you $20. But for that $20 total, you're getting top 10 talent and somebody that's reliable.
Sure. Who does a background checks on these employees? Does anybody do that?
So that isn't something that's currently in our platform. It will be in the future. But it might surprise for you to learn that here we are in 2018 and all of these job postings live in Facebook groups right now. And so that's kind of the current state and has been for years when it comes to event marketing staffing. And so, as Trusted Herd grows here and we scale, those are certainly features that we're going to put in that'll only make our network and the people and the users in it more valuable to companies.
Excellent. Now, I assume the employer rates the employee. Does it go vice versa as well? So like how Uber rates their passengers now?
100%. And it has to, right? Because kind of as I alluded to in the pitch, there are companies out there who probably shouldn't be staffing in the event marketing game because they don't treat their employees or their contractors with respect. And that's why it needs to go both ways. So at the end of that event, or when a worker adds that job in that they've worked in the last year, it's two ways there. So the company is rating the worker on how their communication was and how their performance was at the event. And then that worker is rating the company on the same scale. So just like you said, similar to getting out of an Uber or a Lyft.
Okay. Total addressable market. How big is this?
Yeah, experiential marketing is huge. And there was just an article within the past week or two in our industry that because Facebook's shaking up their algorithm with preference to your personal network and not necessarily company pages, all of those dollars are going to shift back to experiential because that's one thing in the digital world that we lead in helps promote products and brands to people in a face-to-face environment. And so the promotional staffing industry itself in the US is 2.2 billion. But, if you think about every time that you go out, whether it's a sporting event at Soldier Field, or you go to the grocery store and you see those product samplers in the grocery store, those are all event workers and they're all hired in this industry to promote products. And while I might be promoting Coca-Cola at my local grocery store one day, the next day I could be promoting Chevrolet at the Chicago Auto Show. So it's the gig economy and it's only growing every single day. You see new articles that come out showing that growth and we're just at the beginning right now.
And this is Ken. I'm going to pop in here one last bit. So we have time for one more question from Brian Fox, and then we're going to keep the show going. I just want to remind the live MinnoTank audience, if you guys have any questions for any of our founders or for our investors and their questions of, what are they pitching? What are they looking to raise? Anything of that nature, please enter it right there on YouTube and we'll respond and we'll bring up your question on the show. So Ryan Cole from V Capital, do we have one more question for Brian?
Sure, Brian, yeah. I recognize you have 13 years of experience in this space. Are any of those years spent in an executive management role at a startup company?
Yeah, absolutely. 4.5 years ago, when I left my national agency, I started my own event marketing agency. So we just did a huge 3-month project for a hydroponics client in Seattle, Denver, and Detroit. This past summer, we just did a holiday mall program for a client here off of Michigan Avenue for the past few weeks. But right now, my focus is on Trusted Herd. And, it was almost 2 years ago to the day that I sat down at a computer and started typing my first word of a business plan that would become Trusted Herd. And it might surprise you to know this, but I'm a solo non-technical founder. So I have an incredible, talented team of developers that I've been working with the past year and a half. And it kind of staggers me just to think about how far I've come in just those 2 years, starting with a first word on, a Word doc. And here we are today with the traction and a pretty great group of people that follow us. So also want to give a shout out to all of our Trusted Herd users and workers. We're all in this together, and I do it to make our industry better.
Sounds great.
All right, Brian, thank you so much for giving us your pitch. We're going to go ahead and turn off your video and go back to mute. So just a reminder for the MinnoTank audience, you guys all have the capability to go on to minnotank.com/pitch and /vote. And there you can vote for your favorite pitch, because at the end of today's episode, we're going to have a favorite pitch and top pitch competition where we give away some of our awesome prizes. So without any further ado, I am going to bring on Sonit, if I can, really quickly. Let me make sure we can get all of our tech working together. We do happen to have the founder of Koval here with us today. So I have give me just one moment. So let me get back on script. So thanks again, Brian, for that awesome pitch. Now I want to introduce to the crowd an amazing female founder that, although not a tech startup founder, has surmounted significant barriers of her own. Dr. Sonit Bernecker-Hart is the co-founder and president of Koval Distillery, one of the first urban craft distilleries in the United States. She is also the co-founder of Cove Distilling Technologies, a distillery startup consulting firm that has helped open hundreds of craft distilleries in the United States. We want to thank Sonit and Koval Distillery's sponsorship and welcome her to the show now to tell us more about her journey and experience founding Koval. Welcome, Dr. Sonit Bernecker-Hart.
Hi, thank you, Ken. It's such a pleasure to be here. And we love everything you're doing over at MinnoTank to support other entrepreneurs and to provide them with such a wonderful platform. We didn't have anything like that when we started Koval, actually. It was a lifestyle change, which caused us to leave our very stable careers. I was a tenured professor. My husband was the deputy press secretary of the Austrian embassy. We decided that we wanted to live in the city we love. And so we had to figure out a plan to move back to Chicago. And one of the things that we thought that we would do is something that we knew how to do. And actually, Robert grew up as a third generation distiller. He distilled as chores as a child, and growing up with his grandparents who have an operational distillery and winery in Austria. He never thought that he would do that for a living, but we started looking into the industry, and this was at the very beginning of craft spirits, and we decided that we would give it a go. So we picked up, moved back to Chicago. We moved into my parents' home with a brand new baby into my brother's old bedroom, stayed there for 2.5 years, invested everything back into the company. In fact, the down payment for a home that we had saved up, we instead bought our still. We still haven't bought a home. We keep investing back into the company. And in doing that, we started the first urban distillery, or one of the first urban distilleries in the United States. And now we've grown into being the largest independent craft distillery in the United States. It's 100% owned by us. For our size, we're distributed worldwide, all over Europe, Asia, and all over Canada. We're moving into South America as well this year. So we've got a lot of distribution, and not only are we doing consulting, so we have a very vertical business model, But we've now added an even higher element to our vertical business model, and we're our own importing company into Europe. So we've tried to do a lot of different things to keep growing and to remain independent. And in addition to that, along the way, we've had to change the laws. So we had to become very involved in the legal landscape of liquor in Illinois. I changed the laws in the very beginning of our distillery's life so that we could actually do tours and tastings, which was not legal. And now that's changed Illinois so that we went from just a handful of craft distilleries to now we've got almost 30 in Illinois.
Okay, Sonat, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your experience. And we're going to hop back onto the show. So thank you so much for your sponsorship.
Thank you.
And we love working with you. Thank you. Okay, guys, so let me hop back over to my video. So now I want to take a moment, and again, thank you very much, Soda and Cowell Distillery, for supporting and participating in MinnoTank's show. Just a reminder to keep Brian Fox's pitch of Trusted Herd in your mind when you go to minnotank.com/pitch, and you can learn a little bit more about how to vote for today's top pitch crowd choice at the end of today's show. So now I want to take a moment to introduce the next startup to you, Byte, before they come on today. As a shameless plug, I would like to suggest that you all download the Byte app that I have on my phone to have a better understanding of the opportunity at hand. In our world today, there's strife and separation. But no matter your race, creed, religion, or location, there is one aspect of life that unites every person on our planet. And that is the need to eat. So in our interview with Byte co-founders, which I suggest you check out by subscribing to MinnoTank's YouTube channel, their interview will air a little bit later next week. We learned about how the Byte co-founders came together to solve this problem of meal selection. I may be stealing a little bit of their thunder, but the best way I heard them describe Byte is if Yelp and Tinder were to have a baby, and then you were able to rate each individual dish and share instead of trying to rate an overall restaurant. So MinnoTank is thrilled to have the founders of Byte on the call with us today. So I'd like to invite Peter, Tim, and David on the call right now. Guys, take it away. Make sure you unmute yourself. Okay, good. Hey guys, go ahead.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks so much, Ken. We might have to steal that opener from you. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Awesome. All right, let's begin. So if you could imagine with me going to Amazon.com and you see that there's only lists of item names and prices, consumers would be leaving a lot to chance to have their expectations met. Did you ever realize that this is what consumers often do at restaurants? That's why we created Byte.
Let me go ahead and pause you guys at Byte. You are not full screened, so we can't see your actual slide deck. We're seeing exactly what's on your screen.
Oh, okay. Shared the wrong.
It's okay, guys. This is live. That's what always happens. Just going to make you guys look as good as possible. So as anyone should know, whenever you work with tech companies, especially, and I'll give you guys a moment to figure your stuff out. So whenever you work with tech companies and you are trying to make your business work, all the time this kind of stuff can happen, especially whenever you're in a situation that you're trying to do live streaming of pitches. So it can be really hard and scary, but we're going to give the Byte guys just a minute to figure it out, to pull up their pitch. All right, guys, you got it? There we go. That looks a lot better.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, so that's Byte. And my name is David Coe, one of the co-founders. And I'm happy to have here with me Tim and Peter. So Tim is actually my younger brother, and we've been childhood friends with Peter's. And together, we came up with the idea of Byte. Our advisors include Bryce Gumpel, co-founder and COO of Seated, which is a reservation app which rewards diners with $15 to $40 gift cards. Jason Lee is a digital marketer with a previous clientele that included PayPal, Angel Hack, and Facebook. And we've also got Nick Petros, the VP of Marketing of Rally Point. And Rally Point is the largest online military network with over 1.5 million members. So the problem, The problem is that it takes simply too much time and effort to decide what to eat. There's a lot of different platforms that generalize reviews and invite a lot of reviews that are often long, narrative, and unhelpful. Additionally, when you look at menus, they can often be text heavy, unorganized. And so what Byte ultimately aims to achieve is to bring the highlights to the forefront, which is the food itself. Market size today, about $800 billion was spent in the restaurant industry in 2017. And Yelp, which is one of the biggest leading go-to review platforms out there, has 192 million monthly active users. So as you can see here, the review platform for restaurants is very saturated. And also, in addition to that, you've got other services where people post pictures of dishes, but they're usually for likes or entertainment value. Where Byte separates itself from the pack is that it is a decision tool that helps people decide what they want to eat and discover new things to try. I'm going to pass it over to my brother Tim to explain the solution.
Thanks, David. So our solution is simple. As David mentioned, Byte focuses on reviewing specific dishes at restaurants instead of the entire restaurant. Therefore, Byte flips the current industry standard on its head by focusing on finding dishes. Excuse me. This is important because right now, what we're doing is reviewing restaurants through avenues like Yelp. But what we're really trying to do when we go to a restaurant is pick the food. And so what we're not is an entertainment app where people are mindlessly scrolling through pictures. Instead, Byte aims to be a digital community of people that are actively helping each other decide what to eat on a regular basis. Our solution has received encouragement and validation from restaurant industry leaders like Mike Evans, co-founder of Grubhub. Now we'll talk a little bit more about the app itself. This is Byte's main feed where users swipe through posts of restaurant dishes closest to them, and this is paired with relevant information like dish name, restaurant name, distance from the user, and price. And this is also accompanied with relevant ratings and reviews from consumers themselves. Next, we have the search feature. Users search specific restaurants, dishes, and other users in the area. This is great for people that prefer a visual menu over a text-heavy one. And lastly, we have the profile, where users can view all the bookmarks that they've saved for later and also see how many views and bookmarks their own posts have received. Now I'll hand it over to Peter to talk more about our metrics.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, so we launched Byte in Philadelphia 4 months ago, our live beta, and we're seeing a lot of great feedback. We have a 4.9 stars on the both Play Store and App Store. Our retention is great. We're 49% of our downloads are coming back monthly. And since we launched 4 months ago, we have 138,000 swipes from all our users. So how are we going to generate revenue? So when a user is on Byte, they're looking for something to eat, and they're trying to satisfy their hunger as soon as possible. So with our partnership with Seated, users now can book reservations on our app, so they could go right to the restaurant and sit down and actually have the meal. In the future, we plan on partnering up with a third-party delivery service like Grubhub, Caviar, or Postmates to allow users, when they find a delicious dish they want to try on our platform, to order it and just have it conveniently delivered right to their front door. In the long term, we see that we're aggregating a lot of data on what consumers are spending on food and what type of food, so we could monetize on all the data that we're collecting in the future. So why now? The timing for Byte is perfect. You probably noticed a lot more people at restaurants are more comfortable taking pictures of their dish. But the problem there is it just gets lost in their camera roll. And a lot of the technology enhancements on phones are going right to the camera. So users and the masses can take a lot higher quality photos than they did a couple of years ago. More consumers or more are reviewing and making sure they're doing a lot more research when purchasing something online. A great example is Amazon. Amazon has tons of little reviews, and people get to post their own photos of the product themselves, and it gives them a lot better understanding of what they're getting. And that's something that we definitely want to do with Byte. We successfully raised a friends and family round of $100,000 last year, but now we just started our seed round. If you're interested about learning more about Byte, please shoot us an email or reach out. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm going to pop back over. So thank you very much, guys. Go ahead and unshare your screen now for us. And we're going to invite Ryan Cole from V Capital back on the phone to talk to us a little bit about this investment opportunity. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, Peter, Tim, David, great company, great idea. I definitely see the value for it. One piece of constructive criticism: in the short amount of time you had to pitch, your advisors are very, instrumental in your company and have a great skill set and background. I wouldn't focus on them as much. I'd rather focus on you guys. Mm-hmm. That being said, can you touch on your past experiences? It's like, you guys are the ones running the company, and if we're to invest, we're investing in you, not your advisors. Although it helps, and they are helpful. But tell us about yourself and your experience in the entrepreneurial space, please.
Yeah, sure. So I came up with the idea when I was traveling for work as a management consultant previously. So I felt the pain point of having to travel a lot and choose where to eat. So for 3 months, majority of the year, I was traveling and having to decide, all right, what restaurant should I go to in a city that I was never at before? So I felt that pain point for a long period of time, and that's where I came up with the idea. So we're more of like from my understanding, we're more of the user, and really we're able to understand it a lot better because we felt that pain point for a long period of time.
And to share a little bit more about my background, I was in the B2B SaaS-based business and creating restaurant technology solutions. And so that included creating apps and loyalty solutions for restaurant franchises and working with integrations into POS systems. Where I saw an opportunity with Byte is that a lot of the restaurants that we worked with were satisfied with the point of sale solutions that they had, the website they had up and running, and constantly looking for new ways to acquire new customers and to retain the ones that they have. And there definitely seemed to be a missing solution in the market where customers can find their food and discover their food, which drives them into the restaurant.
And lastly, this is Tim again. I have an engineering degree from the University of Michigan. I spent the past year as a financial risk management consultant, but frankly, I don't have an entrepreneurial background as these two might. But Peter contacted me basically maybe a year ago and said, what's your interest in really pursuing this? And I had a great interest in the app itself. I thought it was a great idea, and that's why I decided to jump on board.
Excellent. Can you please touch on the addressable market size, your cost per acquisition of a customer, and that lifetime value you'll derive from that customer, please?
Yeah, so we'd say the market size, there's about 75 million millennials in the US currently, and we really think that age of about 18 to 35, people who are just getting out of college and having disposable income and are looking for better places to eat as they grow older is a great kind of target market to address. In terms of CPI, we've just started our digital marketing campaign a few weeks ago. Before that, we were really focusing on nailing our product. And from the initial looks of it, we're very encouraged. We have our CPI below $2 using Facebook and Instagram marketing.
Yeah, and just to build on top of that, we don't want to rely too heavily on paid advertising because there is a limit to that, but we're really focusing on users sharing their review on Byte on their other social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, where essentially it's free marketing for us and it really reaches their network.
Okay, so I'm not in the 18 to 35 category anymore. Let's say I take a picture of my meal and then I post it on Byte. Do I receive anything in return, or am I just putting it for reasons just to have people look at my ratings?
Yeah, so something interesting we noticed about some of our top posters are that these are not users that are regular foodies, meaning like they have an Instagram foodie account or they post pictures of food on social media. But this is your regular person that's going to a restaurant every once in a while. But is taking pictures of their food and finally has a place to put it. And so, yeah, some of our top posters have been, in some ways we joke around, they're serial posters. And when reaching out to them and asking why they're doing such things, they're saying, we just like to keep track of everything that we're eating, and yeah, making sure they're on top of that. And one of the, I guess, interesting things that is an incentive to keep using Byte is that you can see how many people are also saving the pictures that you posted and viewing the post as well.
Excellent. Yeah, the relationship, potential relationship with Grubhub would be huge. Any developments, or where does that currently stand?
Yeah, so we realized Grubhub is a lot more established than we are. And right now, we really want to make sure that with our formal proposal, we have the right metrics and what we actually can offer them. So we did have a little back and forth, but we realized it might be a little bit too premature for us. So that's why we decided to partner with Seated, who is less established than Grubhub, but still has a great network out there. So that we really want to test and make sure that we could really offer what we say we offer to Grubhub in the future.
Just one quick bit, guys. So we have time for one more question. I just want to remind the crowd that's tuning into MinnoTank right now, you guys are welcome to ask questions. Our last show was covered in questions. In this show, we don't have very many questions at all. So if you're having any difficulty, just go to the YouTube channel. You can type in your questions in the live chat. It should be to the right of your video. And if you have any questions for the Byte team, or you have any questions for Ryan Cole from V Capital, please feel free to ask them. So Ryan, we have time for one more question, and then we're going to get to our third and final pitch.
Excellent. So it looks like right now, correct me if I'm wrong, your primary market is Philadelphia. Where do you expect to expand from there?
Yeah, so we definitely want to be very strategic on the next cities we go to. It might seem like the move would be to go right to New York, but New York is a huge market. So with we want to definitely target the smaller, more foodie cities, sort of like Austin, Portland, that has a really strong restaurant scene, but isn't massive. So we're able to really put our marketing dollars and stretching them as much as possible, rather than trying to take a little dent out of New York City.
I invite you guys to come to Chicago quickly. I would love to see what I eat before I order it.
Yeah.
So would I, guys. Come on over to Chicago. Okay, guys. All right. Thank you very much to the Byte team. And thank you, Brian. Go ahead and shut off your videos, guys, and mute yourselves. And we're going to keep the show rolling. So thank you, Byte team, for that delicious pitch. Let me make sure I get everyone's videos off while we focus back onto this. There we go. Okay, so let me keep going, guys. So thank you, Byte, for digging deeper into your investment opportunity and giving us some insight into the future of your company. Now, before our final pitch from the CEO of RentGrata, Ben, on the show, I want to bring on a surprise for you guys. So we happen to have the founder of T-Squares, Jordan Buckner, on the call with us today. And Jordan's going to shed some light on his awesome snacks that I am going to open up and try on the show with us, as well as talk about some of his journey as a startup founder and how he started his company. So Jordan, you should be unmuted and on the screen, and go ahead and talk to us a little bit about T-Squares.
Awesome. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it. Well, my name is Jordan Buckner. I am the co-founder and CEO of T-Squares. We make caffeinated energy bites, which are here. So each of our bite-sized square are light, crunchy, a little sweet. And the best part is that they're infused with natural caffeine from organic tea. And this is really great because as entrepreneurs, as professionals, as kind of go-getters like yourselves, you're always looking for more energy and something to help you focus so you can get more done in your day. And that's exactly what T-Squares provides. So we really created them to help you fuel your passion. I kind of felt that same pain point myself. So I'm an entrepreneur. I've been working in startups for pretty much my whole life. And as I was working throughout the day, I know I needed some energy to keep on going to get more done, but always ran out of that and ran out of time. So created T-Squares so that you can have the energy to get more done. Other cool things, so we actually launched our company in Chicago a year and a half ago, and we've grown really well here within the grocery stores. So we're selling in Whole Foods Market. You can actually buy them online at Amazon or at mytsquares.com. And from that, we've had some great success in growing. We're actually awarded a Forbes 30 Under 30 recipient in the food and beverage category this year, so super excited about that. And for you MinnoTank fans, we actually have a special promotion going on where if you visit www.mytsquares.com and enter the code MinnoTank, that's MinnoTank, you can get 20% off your T-Squares order, and we deliver across the entire continental United States. So check out T-Squares and get caffeinated energy bites so you can help fuel your passion.
Make sure I'm unmuted. Thank you so much, Jordan. That was an awesome pitch. I'm going to go ahead and turn off your video. We really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with us. We'd love to hear about entrepreneurial journeys. Not all of us can be tech founders, but we'd love to hear about new awesome startups coming out. So our next company, let me get my everything together. So now for our final pitch, I'm excited to invite Ben Margalit, the CEO of Rent Grotto, onto the show. But before I do, I want to highlight some of the reasons why we at MinnoTank believe that Rent Grotto will change the way apartments are rented in the future. When I moved into my last apartment in Chicago, I had a lot of questions. I wanted to know more about what it was like living in that building. If I were to have had Rent Grotto, I would have not only been able to chat, meet, and learn about the life in that building, the amenities, and the overall experience from real people who already live there, but I would have been able to form a community before I ever move in and feel at home on day one. MinnoTank is a huge advocate for what Rent Grotto is doing, and we are excited to welcome Ben Margalit onto the show. So Ben, without any further ado, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about Rent Grotto.
Thanks, Ken, and thanks for the intro. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Are you seeing the deck all right?
Yep, you're on. Go ahead.
Okay, great. All right. Well, hello everyone. Thanks again, Ken, for having us here. So we are Rent Grotto, and we are helping apartment renters enter the sharing economy, and we are doing so by helping property managers fill vacant units, cut costs, and learn more about their customers along the way. So plain and simple, people don't talk to their friends or peers enough when looking for a new place to live. So why is this the problem that we've identified? People looking for a new apartment usually start one of two places. If they happen to know someone who lives in the city or neighborhood that they want to move to, they'll ask them for recommendations. If they can't think of any such friend off the top of their head, they'll turn to the internet and end up utilizing one of the many similar apartment listing or broker services that are out there. Current residents, unless their friends happen to think of them, have no idea if members of their own social network are trying to move to their area. So why is that bad? Property managers have resident referral programs in place for a reason. Like, they have them to incentivize their residents to attract their friends to move to their property. Property managers know that leads produced by resident referrals convert to leases at 10 times the rate of leads that are produced by generic apartment listing services. They also know that residents who have friends in the building tend to feel a sense of community and are more likely to lease there longer, which reduces the overall vacancy. They also know that they are spending an absurd amount of money on broker commissions relative to the cost of paying a resident a referral reward. So because of this lack of communication amongst peers, renters are missing out on referral rewards, and property managers are overspending on inefficient, antiquated marketing avenues. So what's the solution? The solution is Rent Grotto, a referral reward-based community building apartment listing service that connects people searching for apartments with current apartment residents. This marketplace will provide insight to prospective renters and generate relatively passive income for current residents. Similar to how Airbnb helps homeowners capitalize on their home and how Lyft helps car owners capitalize on their car, Rent Grotto helps apartment renters capitalize on their apartment. This platform will also increase leasing efficiency and bottom lines for property managers. And here's the kicker. So by compiling and analyzing all of the conversations taking place on our platform between prospects and residents, RentGrata can provide consumer insights and sentiment analysis on what's being said about a given property by its residents, and help property managers learn what prospects actually want to know and care about when finding a new place to live. So far beyond whether it's pet friendly or not, or if they have in-unit washer dryers. Property managers and owners will be able to learn how to more cost effectively manage their buildings and learn where they should be concentrating their marketing and redevelopment efforts. So the product. So we're live in the App Store now. The renter-facing application is easy to use. You browse listings, chat with residents, and earn a split of the referral reward when you sign a lease, and make a new friend and be welcomed into your community when you do so. Current residents not looking for a new apartment just create an account and sit back and respond to messages from prospects. So not a whole lot of effort on their end. Our property manager dashboard is still being developed, and we anticipate rolling that out this spring. So market size and revenue model. Multifamily professionals spend roughly $5 billion a year to attract and retain renters. And we are targeting properties with at least 25 units, of which there are over 140,000 or so in the United States. We started out offering a cost per lease payment model to property managers, basically saying, let us prove our value and we will retain you as a customer. We'll eventually move to strictly a subscription-based model, charging property managers per property per month to list their property, deliver leads, and provide consumer data and analytics. Competition, it's no secret that there's a ton of competition out there in the apartment listing space. Most of them are pretty similar. Some of them will help you find a roommate if that's what you're looking for. What most of them have over us is a marketing budget and brand recognition. And while those are important, obviously, that's really about it. There's no brand loyalty. There's no daily active use for someone who, after they find an apartment, right? You visit a few different sites or an app for a month or two, find a place to live, and then you don't touch it again for another 10 months. Our advantages. So we have advantages over our listing service competitors on all three sides of the marketplace. And since no one has been able to gather large quantities of data based on prospect resident communication, we are creating our own market in that space. And because RentGrata appeals to and captivates both prospective and current renters, our platform will create daily active users, leading to an increased likelihood of repeat users. Our social nature will allow for rapid growth among young millennials, right? Tell your friends, hey, it's easy to find an apartment here and make money along the way. Kind of a no-brainer for people like myself and everyone we've known and grown up with. And so all of these advantages will create higher quality leads and reduce overall marketing expenses for our property manager customers. And so the combination of repeat users, higher conversions, and consumer analysis that we can provide will allow us to increase a single user's lifetime value to us and the property managers, and allow us to spend less in customer acquisition. So our team, Zach, Max, and myself are currently full-time. Sam is part-time. We also have a social media intern working for us part-time as well. My background is in the multifamily housing industry. Before helping found RentGrata a little over a year ago, I worked for a nationwide REIT in the multifamily space. And before that, as a land development engineer, where our clients were multifamily developers. Max is an iOS developer and designer and has prior startup experience as well. That's about all for the pitch. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My contact info is here. We raised a friends and family round of $125,000 this past summer to help us operate the beta version that's live now in the App Store. And we are now raising $750,000 to help us build our team, further develop our technology, increase our market penetration here in Chicago, and begin expanding to our next markets. So thanks again, and we look forward to your questions.
All right, guys. So this is Kenton with MinnoTank again. I just want to remind the audience that you can go to minnotank.com/vote. If you love Ben Margolitz's pitch and you thought that Rent Grotto was the best pitch today, please do highlight that pitch. Go there to minnotank.com/vote, cast your vote. And again, there's going to be prizes handed out at the end. We not only have T-squares, we have the awesome Koval as well. So before that, go ahead and go to minnotank.com/vote. And we'd like to invite Ryan from V Capital back to talk to us a little bit about this investment opportunity. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, Ben, can you please talk about you and your co-founder's background and why you're geared and capable of this type of company, please?
Yeah, absolutely. My background, went to school for civil engineering. First job out of school was with a land development engineer in Dallas, Texas, and most of our clients were real estate, mixed use, and multifamily developers. So that gave me like my first introduction to the real estate industry in general. I ended up landing at a REIT headquartered in Denver, where I worked on their redevelopment team, essentially as an investment underwriting analyst for massive renovation projects on apartment buildings. So throughout that underwriting process, I would work with not only our finance team, but also our construction team and our leasing and marketing teams as well. So I got a pretty good grasp of the entire lease up process, from start to finish, from lead to lease for the customers that we were attaining when trying to fill apartment units. Our other two co-founders, Sam and Zach, both come from Big Four accounting firms, strong backgrounds in operations and finance and like face-to-face consumer-facing portfolios that they worked with while at these large accounting firms. They both have great passion for the startup space and kind of jumping in with both feet, along with myself, as we got started a little more than a year ago. We brought on Max back in September. He has experience in the startup space as well, having previously co-founded a social marketplace, and his background is in iOS development and design, and he's been assisting in the product management, sort of guiding the vision for where we want to go from a technology side.
Excellent. If you were to give us your 30-second elevator pitch about Rent Grotto. So you're coming across an investor in an elevator, you're going up 5 floors to him or her, and you're quickly telling them what you're doing. How would you describe that?
Sure. So Rent Grotto helps connect prospective renters with current residents of apartment communities. So prospective renters who are unfamiliar with where they're headed can reach out to someone who lives there, ask questions that are important to them, get feedback, and then if they sign a lease, they split the referral reward offered by the property management company, which in Chicago is anywhere from $500 to $1,500. So we are bridging the gap between the sharing economy and the apartment search industry.
All right, I'm going to pop on for 1 second because we have some questions for the crowd. So Ben, do me a favor and stop sharing your screen, and then we'll have our faces much larger on the screen one more time.
Sure.
So your first question from the crowd is actually from the Chicago Innovation Group here, and they actually asked, "What is the benefit of focusing on markets outside of Chicago at this point, opposed to solidifying your presence in your home city, Chicago?"
Yeah, no, great question. We absolutely intend on solidifying our footing and grabbing more market share here in Chicago before really focusing our efforts elsewhere. But we also realize the need to start to branch out, test this business model in other markets, and make sure it's not just something that will be successful in Chicago. So being able to utilize our the channels that we have to get in with property managers in other cities like Denver and Dallas and Houston, they will be able to help us pilot this in other cities. So after we are able to really know that this is something that can be successful elsewhere, in addition to Chicago, that's when we'll really ramp up our marketing efforts and business development efforts elsewhere. Like one of the things we really have going for us with this business model is most of the property managers that we've been talking to and that are coming on board have a presence outside Chicago. We've recently started working with a property manager here who only has one building here in Chicago, but they have 100 in Washington, D.C. So if we can prove our value here, it's something that could be easily transferable to multiple markets and eventually across the country.
All right, thank you for answering that crowd question, Ben. Ryan, we have time for about 1 or 2 more short questions. So is there anything else we want to dig into with Rent Grata and this investment opportunity?
Yeah, if we could talk about, I guess, how do you acquire new customers? How often are people going to be using this? And is a standard rent an average a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then they move to another place? I'm trying to ascertain the lifetime value of a customer, how much it costs to acquire that customer.
Sure. Yeah. So we think of our customers as property managers, and to this point, our customer acquisition costs have been relatively low. It's mostly been direct sales, working our way up if we have to from the actual like on-site leasing team up to their marketing personnel, just getting in front of the right person, pitching them the value of that we provide to not only like their bottom line, but their residents, their customers. So our customer acquisition cost here in Chicago has been minimal. It's just our time, just picking up the phone and dialing. But I think to answer your question as far as from the user side, for the renter users, we do anticipate this being something that someone can use on a daily basis, right? This is from a current resident standpoint, it is relatively effortless to give yourself an opportunity to make a few $100s a month, right? You download the app, create an account, and you are listed as like a current resident at a building that someone is interested in moving into. They shoot you a message directly through the application. You get a push notification, respond to it, tell them about your experiences there, and if that person ends up signing a lease, you make money. Like there's really not a reason why someone our age wouldn't be open to at least giving this a shot, right? We're helping people, especially in cities like Chicago, where so many of my peers don't have assets like a home or a car that they can use to turn into a side hustle. We're helping apartment renters do that. And as more and more of my generation is sort of turning away from home ownership, it really isn't the American dream that it used to be with baby boomers and Gen Xers. Like we are perfectly okay with staying in our centralized urban environments, right in the thick of things, being close to our peers and we're not looking to settle down out in the suburbs. So as our generation looks for ways to add a side hustle that doesn't have a lot of hassle that comes with it, Rent Grotto is a perfect option for everyone.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you very much. We're going to cut it off there. So thank you, Ben Margalit, and thank you, Ryan Cole from V Capital. So we have a little bit more of the show just before we're done. So Ben, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and turn off your video and put you back on mute. So first thing, Ryan, I'm going to unmute you. I just want to say thank you real quick. Ryan, thank you for joining us. We'd love to have V Capital. We'd love to have any kind of venture capital to help us kind of lead through our calls. We do have a gift for you at the end of the show. So if you wouldn't mind just staying on for just a few more minutes, we'd like to reference that. Okay.
Thanks, Kevin. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So thank you guys everyone for watching Ben Margalit with the CEO of Rent Grotto. So now is the live audience's time to shine. Now it's time to head over to MinnoTank.com/vote to cast your vote to decide who wins MinnoTank's Top Pitch Crowd Choice for January 17th, 2018. And for your personal opportunity to also win a bottle of Koval whiskey and a snack pack from T-Squares, both complimentary from your friends at MinnoTank. Now, I will say I did have some of the green tea matcha T-Squares, and I did not partake in a glass of Koval, even though I wanted to. So if you want a chance to win that, thank you very much. And as a thank you to Ryan from V Capital, MinnoTank will be sending you a bottle of Koval whiskey as well as a snack pack from T-Squares. Thank you so much for your participation on our show today, Ryan, and thank you very much for participating from V Capital. So finally, switch my screen over. Fighting with the computer, and the computer is winning. Great. So now to give our live audience a little time to decide in the last few minutes of who's going to win the top pitch, I'll tell you right now, we have a 57 to 41% split. It seems like Trusted Herd has 57% of the vote, where Rent Grotto has 41% of the vote. So go ahead and take a few minutes to cast your last vote. Share it on social if you'd like. Do whatever you'd like. And we'll get to that, who actually wins that final pitch in just a minute. So now begs the question. Are you an early stage tech startup founder that would like to pitch live to an audience of over 100 plus accredited investors on MinnoTank? Our next show is January 31st at 2 p.m. Central in just 2 weeks. Please head over to MinnoTank.com to learn more and join our waitlist to pitch on our live stream. And today, as a special treat to our audience for the new year, the CEO, Ken, MinnoTank, the CEO, is going to stay around for just a few more minutes after we let the startups go return to running their empires. I'm going to hang around after the show to answer any questions you might have about how MinnoTank works. And if you have any interest in learning about how to get on the show and anything about our investor audience. My goal is to open up the floor to ask questions about MinnoTank if you get the chance to participate in the show. So before I open the floor, we need to have our award for MinnoTank's Top Pitch Crowd Choice, January 17th, 2018. So I'm going to check my numbers, and I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay, I'm going to refresh my screen, take a last few moments to make your final decisions. Who did you believe was the top pitch for MinnoTank's show today? And with 49 responses, we have 50 responses coming in. Okay. All right, so before I tell who the final winner was, I know it's a little weird to be participating in a live stream pitch, but I want to thank each and every person that came on the show today. I also want to thank all of you for tuning in and watching. MinnoTank does receive more than 70% of our views after we actually produce the finalized videos. So we know live stream's a little new, and we're definitely at the cutting edge. If you were to search live stream pitch on Google right now, we're always in the top 3 searches. So just know that this is brand new, and we're really excited for you to join us. But without any further ado, I'd like to get to the one who won the live stream pitch. So if you wouldn't mind, give me a little bit of drum roll. You can hear it on my audio, a little bit of drum roll. And so MinnoTank's top pitch crowd choice, January 17th, 2018 is Brian Fox with Trusted Herd. Thank you very much. And with thank you to we have 54 responses that came through from our tech enthusiasts, founders, and investors who voted on today's show. And we are thrilled to have you participate live. And now I want to select the live participant who will be awarded a bottle of our fabulous Koval whiskey, as well as a snack pack prize pack from the wonderful folks at T-Squares and Jordan Buckner, who you met just a few minutes ago. And all of these come complimentary from MinnoTank. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh. I'm going to select at random. I have a little pull out of the jar software solution that I'm using to shuffle you guys up. We're shuffling. All right. So we have a few more people coming in. Shuffle. And we've got it. Okay. So we have Kevin McLaughlin. Kevin McLaughlin, you have won a bottle of Koval complimentary from MinnoTank, as well as a snack pack from T-Squares. Thank you very much for everyone who voted today for your top pitch on MinnoTank. Kevin will be sending you an email and conduct a short interview to learn a little bit more about why you participate in MinnoTank and your interest in early stage tech startups. Thank you again to Byte, Rent Grata, Trusted Herd Team, Brian Fox, as well as Brian Cole from V Capital. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor and leave it open. If any of you guys are interested in learning more about MinnoTank, you want to ask some questions, I'm going to let the floor open. We'll be using YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/MinnoTank, you just look it up there. You can enter in some questions, anything you'd like to ask of us. But otherwise, the show's over. So thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. And you're welcome to ask any more questions if you have any. And I'll hang around for about 10 or 15 minutes in the end. Oh, I did see so thank you very much for participating in the show. Fact is, we already get the pitch done. So we had the vote link. If you go to minnotank.com/vote, you would have been able to find it for the future. So next time, you'll be able to tune in to our show and you will be able to vote for your favorite pitch. But this time, our crowd winner was Kevin McLaughlin. And our startup winner was Brian from Trusted Herd. So I'll stick around, guys, for a few more minutes. And if anyone has any more questions, Kevin, I see Kevin saying, sweet, awesome. Yeah, Kevin, we're very excited to have you. So thank you very much. We'll conduct a short interview with you probably next week, whenever we give you over your prizes. And we're thrilled to have you tune in. So if anyone has any questions now about MinnoTank, if I don't see any questions, I'll just talk to you about a little bit about what we're trying to accomplish here. So I know you guys might be big fans of Shark Tank. A lot of people are who tune into MinnoTank. Fact is that, Ryan actually just said on our private chat, I'll bring Ryan back up on the call. Yeah. So Ryan, Ryan from V Capital, if you're interested, we'll also have Ryan still here for another 5 or 10 minutes. If anyone wants to ask any questions about what it's like to pitch to V Capital, I want to mention that we do have our next, our interview that's coming out with Ryan from V Capital, coming out to explain a little more what it's like to pitch. Ryan, what does it look like in that situation? So, but Ryan, if they have any questions for you too, we'd love it. So I'm looking at the live chat right now. Nobody's sending in questions yet. So Ryan, why don't you talk to us a little bit about your experience today and what it's like to see some live stream pitches? Is it very different from what you guys experience on a regular basis?
No, it's normally we start with the executive summary and a pitch deck from every company review. And then we go on to the phone call with them. Very rarely do we have an in-person or face-to-face meeting. So this was nice to see the person and ask questions on the spot. I thought all three companies did a good job. Whether or not you prep them, they did great. So kudos to you in selecting those. I know you go through an intense period where you vet numerous companies to pitch. So good job. I think all three did phenomenal. But overall, the experience was good. We see about 1,000. I take it back, about 1,500 companies per year. We try to select 6 to 8 of those 1,500. And it's an intense process. It's anywhere from 3 months to a year of due diligence per company. And this is what I would call the initial stage of that process, of that vetting process that we did today. So it was good.
Fantastic. I want to touch on two things you just said. So while we have the last few minutes while we all hang around, and then we'll cut the call off. So the first thing that you talked about was due diligence process. So the biggest question I get from everyone who turns into MinnoTank is they say, how much money have you guys raised from MinnoTank? And we say, what's very interesting about what we're doing is we're working with early stage tech companies. So the fact is these companies are not just starting to raise and come on MinnoTank. They've been trying to raise capital for a long time. So MinnoTank has hundreds of accredited investors who have gone to minnotank.com/invest and and they've self-described and said, we've tested and saying we are accredited investors. MinnoTank then collects companies that are phenomenal and fantastic, and we host them on our show, and then we send out these live interviews. Because of what you just said, the beauty is, you can look over 1,500 deals per year, but getting to see someone's face, understanding who they are, and a lot of the questions you asked were very much based around, why are you the right solution? You as the individual founder, not specifically your company. Because we know it's all going to change. And we know that this company will flip and change and contort into something else. But we know that selecting the right jockey, as we often hear, instead of looking at the horse, the right jockey is often what's going to be the winner there. The second thing I want to touch on that you just mentioned is that MinnoTank sees a lot of deals. So what's funny is we've actually had at least 2 early stage tech startups sign up per day since the new year. So we've had a rapid expansion. We're obviously not at V Capital's level. We have 1,500 deals to look at yet, but we're definitely growing rapidly. But we do entice people to please go to MinnoTank.com, join our wait list. I respond to each and every one of you. So I promise you, as an individual, I will get to you. And we love to hear about your pitches. We do this because we love startups and we love the ideas of seeing the world change through technology. So we're going to stick around for one more minute. Any more questions? We have a few viewers still hanging out. Any more questions for us? Ryan, any last words you want to say before we cut the show off?
No, Ken, we have a similar model to you where we have a group of accredited investors who look at our deals, but ours are a little later stage. But I think the relationship between our firm and your firm is perfect, very symbiotic, where we want to work with companies that go through MinnoTank, and a lot of companies we see might be too early for us that we can send to MinnoTank. So I think overall, I think this is a great relationship. It adheres to the Chicago philosophy, and as you mentioned, back to the earlier point, it's a jockey, not the horse. And I think today here we heard from 3 great jockeys, or actually 5 of them. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they do going forward and look forward to following the progress.
All right, well, before we let you go, we have 2 questions and then we'll be done. So my first question, because I know before our call actually started, you talked a little bit about V Capital's network of accredited investors. So would you mind sharing a little bit about that, talking to us a little bit how V Capital does deals and the number of accredited investors you work with? Because that's often a big part. Some VCs work with a fund. You guys are a little unique. Would you mind touching on that real quick before we go?
Of course, thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, so our model's unique. We're not your traditional venture capital firm. Instead of raising a sum of money, raising a fund, and then finding deals, we find the deals and then find the money. We create a special purpose vehicle, an SPV, for each deal we do. So it'd be a V Capital MinnoTank LLC, if you will. And then we go to our investors, and then we raise money from them, who then directly invest into that SPV, that LLC. We have about 180 accredited investors, and they like this because of the complete transparency and flexibility, similar to MinnoTank model. The transparency, flexibility, and be able to invest in an individual deal. So for example, I love company A. Here is $200,000. I like company B. I'm fairly knowledgeable in the space. Here's $50,000. And company C and D, I don't like them or I'm not familiar with them. I'm going to sit that one out and not invest at all. So they could pick which companies to invest in and decide how much to invest in each company. And that's the transparency and flexibility that they appreciate, similar to what you run at MinnoTank.
Fabulous. Yeah, we see a lot more of investors getting tired of the fact they're being nickeled and dimed in every direction, and they just want to see more access. There's plenty of accredited investors across the USA, but oftentimes they're required to spend a lot of money to join certain networks, and then they have to go fly out physically to see these events. They end up actually missing out on a lot of opportunities, and that actually hurts the startup in the end. So MinnoTank's goal with decentralizing the pitch, making it completely online and accessible to anyone who wants to participate, is really trying to accomplish that. So we're thrilled to have you as a partner and see that moving forward. One more question. And the last question we're going to do is going to be from Ryan Fox. So Brian Fox, the winner of today's top pitch. And his question for you is, Ryan, what are you seeing this year in the Chicago investment scene? Any kind of trends or things that are important to touch on?
We got 17 days so far in the calendar year. I'll take it for the past 365 days. A lot of focus on the AI space, artificial intelligence, machine learning. I think Chicago, as a community, is really coming through with all the universities, the tech transfer offices from those universities, the accelerators, incubators. I think there's just a lot more deal flow we're seeing as of lately from all spaces, from fintech, from manufacturing to medical tech, therapeutics. It's been a blast. We're seeing a lot of stuff. But to answer your question, I'd say more in the robotics, artificial intelligence space. Autonomous vehicles, we're seeing a lot. I just got back from the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, the biotech showcase there. So right now I'm inundated with a bunch of medical deals, but we're seeing a bunch of everything. And it's been a blast to see it all. You know, being sector agnostic allows us not to focus in any area. But we're seeing a lot. And obviously a lot of talk about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology right now. You know, for those who have Bitcoin right now, cryptocurrency, I apologize. It's taking a meeting today. But yeah, it's interesting. And the ICO market, initial coin offering, that's spreading a little bit. So it's a fun space right now, and it's changing rapidly.
All right. Well, the last thing I'm going to say on our show, thanks again, Ryan, for joining us. It was awesome to have you today. If you guys are, as we were talking about cryptocurrency, if you're interested, MinnoTank will be at the CryptoCon. If you go to minnotank.com/CryptoCon, or you just look on our menu, you would see on the side. It's a great way to meet a lot of firms that come together. We actually do have people from V Capital speaking of that. So we're really excited to see everyone come out there. And if you're interested in participating, you can come to the actual conference. There is talk about them having a live stream. So if you don't want to fly into Chicago, you could possibly do that, but we'll see what happens. So thank you everyone for showing up today. Thank you very much, all the folks that pitched today. Thanks again, Ryan from V Capital. We're thrilled to have you. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. The next MinnoTank show is January 31st, the same time, 2 p.m. Central in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.